This conference will now be recorded.
All right. So yesterday day before yesterday, in our previous session, we did cover MSH, PID, EV, and segments. So today we'll go through the rest of the segments that we have for a demographic message, which is an ADA04 or an ADTA08. So do you have any questions, Bhupinder, from the previous sessions?
No.
Okay. All right. So we'll go to the next one. So we have PV1 segment. PV1 is nothing but patient visit segment. So as the name itself indicates, it has little information about the visit, why patient is coming to hospital, if he had um any provider who has referred him to the hospital, and basically it contains the visit related information. So PV1 segment is a little tricky. Um, the way it is handled in a demographic message is a little different from the way it is handled in a appointment message. So it has its own role when we it talk about it from demographic perspective, and we will see that there are few additional fields which will be used when we talk from appointment perspective. So Bhupinder, there is some kind of background sound or the muffled sound. I think I'm hearing my voice. Hello?
Now I have muted my mic. Now okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's better now. All right. So there are a few important fields in PE1 segment. So when we talk about this segment, I will tell you what are the fields that we will go through and what is the role of that field from demographic and appointment perspective. So PV1 is a set ID, which is nothing but the sequence ID for each and every segment as we have the sequence ID. PV1 is the sequence ID. PV12 is the patient class, which means whether the patient is an inpatient or an outpatient, um, that is indicated, or an emergency patient. That information is indicated here in PV12. Then we have PV13, which is assigned patient location, which is nothing but if the patient is registered somewhere, let's say he got registered in Mumbai, then that information will be present in PV13. So just for the receiving system to understand, in case if it has a field and wants to store the information where the patient has been registered for the first time, then you will have this information here. This field has significance when we talk about from an appointment perspective as well. I'll tell that now, but I will also repeat about that and we'll compare about these fields which are used both in demographic and appointment messages when we talk about appointments as well. But for now, PV13 is used from demographic perspective. If a patient is getting registered at one location, PV13 will have appointment demographic location information. But in case if a patient is taking an appointment at one location, then it will have the appointment location information. Let's say the person is taking an appointment at Hyderabad. He will have information about the appointment. If the doctor's location is also in Hyderabad, then PV13 will have Hyderabad. But if the appointment is being taken in Hyderabad, but the location of the doctor or the hospital is in Bangalore, then you will see that in PV13 we will be sending Bangalore. which means even if the appointment location is appointment where it is being scheduled might be a different location. However, the actual appointment location, which is nothing but where the doctor is available, that location information will be sent in PV13. And then we have PV17, which is attending doctor. So there are two things here again. So you will have attending doctor from appointment perspective, which is nothing but the doctor whom the patient is going to meet. And from a demographic perspective, you will have primary care physician. It's like the family doctor, that family doctor information, or the as soon as the patient had a problem, he visits or meets a doctor. So he will be called as primary care physician, and from there he might refer him to other specializations based on the problem that the patient has. So that physician who the patient has contacted first is called as primary care physician. So that information will be sent in PV17. PV18 is the referring doctor. Again, let's take an example where a patient is visiting to Apollo hospitals uh, for some specialization. I mean, for some specialty doctor like orthopedic or ophthalmology, etc. So basically, he ended up in Apollo because he has been referred by some other doctor to that particular hospital and particular specialty. So that the provider who is going to refer the patient to the different hospital is called as referring doctor. So PV18 will have referring doctor information. PV119 visit number. So this doesn't have any significance from demographic perspective, but it has from appointment perspective. PV119 will indicate the unique ID which has been assigned for every appointment that is going to be generated in the system. So this is similarly kind of a patient ID where each patient is identified with the help of unique patient ID. In a similar way, each appointment is identified with the help of single visit number. So that visit number information will be sent in PV119 for an appointment message, not for a demographic message, because demographic message will not have any information related to appointment. PV1 44 and 45. 44 is admit date and time, 45 is discharge date and time. So from demographic perspective, you will see these two fields, as well as from appointment perspective, you will see these two fields. For demographics, it will just indicate when the patient has been admitted to the hospital and when the patient has been discharged. Uh, And in a similar way, for an appointment message, if it is an outpatient appointment, then it will have the appointment date and time. If it is an inpatient appointment, then it will have admit date and discharge date and time. So outpatient is nothing but a patient who visits the hospital for just for that day, meets the doctor, explains the problem, and leaves the hospital the very same day without being admitted to the hospital. So that is called as an outpatient. Inpatient is nothing but a patient who is going to be admitted to the hospital, so and will be discharged at some or the other point of time. PV150, this is a field to store alternate visit ID. In case if there is more than one unique ID which identifies the appointment, then you will see that PV150 will be used, where you will be seeing an alternate visit ID being sent in the appointment message. So in real-time implementations, you will find that at few vendors or few clients will use PV1 19 and few people will use PV150. So it depends on their own preferences because both will hold the patient visit ID. So you can send it anywhere. Next we have Guarantor segment. So Before jumping into guarantor segment, there are a few things that we need to know. Uh, so every person in US will have, most of them will have insurance. So let's take, there are two concepts of insurance. One is the patient himself being insured. Second one is the patient has a family insurance, which will cover the entire family, the spouse and the children. So that is called as family billing concept. The reason why it is said as family billing is there is only one insurance which will cover the entire family, and any bill that is going to be generated on any one of their names will be considered as family billing because, as I said, one insurance covers all of them. So usually what happens if um, if the patient himself is the guarantor, then appointment info or the demographic information will have the patient's information as a guarantor. But when we talk about other members of the family like spouse, children, if they are the patients, now in such cases father or mother, whoever it is, whoever has the insurance, primary insurance, will become the guarantor for that child or spouse. So guarantor will keep on changing based on who has the insurance, but still the patient information will be confined to the patient who is going to visit the doctor. So in case if the patient himself has the insurance, if the father himself, you can think it this way, we can think it this way. If the father himself has the insurance and if the father himself is the patient, then PID information, which contains the patient identification information, will be same as guarantor information because patient himself is the guarantor. But in case if the child is the patient, then PID segment will have child information, but guarantor information is will be represented by his father's details because father is the actual insurance bearer. So let's look at the fields now. GT1 is this is again the set ID, the sequence number for the segment. Then GT12 guarantor number. So each guarantor, whoever it is, will be assigned with a guarantor number by the system. When the guarantor is being generated, then guarantor will have a guarantor number. That information will be present in GT12. GT13 guarantor name, who is the guarantor, his information, his name will be present here. And we also have other basic details like phone number, date of birth, gender of the guarantor. And in GT11, you have guarantor relationship. So this is little important. So this field indicates what relationship the guarantor has with the patient who is being registered. For example, as I said now, a few minutes before, that if the patient himself is the guarantor, then you will see that this field will have information as self, which means patient himself is the guarantor and he is going to pay his own insurance. I mean, he is going to pay his own bill for that visit or for that appointment. But in case uh, if the child is the patient, then in such cases you will see that this field has other values like um, spouse, father, child, and so on. So that information will indicate what relationship the patient has with the guarantor. So GT111 information will help us to determine whether the patient himself is the guarantor or is there someone else who is the guarantor. And GT113 guarantor date begin and end time. So if the patient himself is the guarantor, then this doesn't make any difference. But in cases where the patient's is different and the guarantor is different, then this plays a major role for the hospital to determine whether a guarantor exists or not for the visit that the patient is going to have. or else they will end up in having no person to call for in case if the patient is not ready to pay the claim. So 13 and 14 will help them to determine whether guarantor is still present for that patient or not. Then GT1 24 and 25, if this information is also important because if the guarantor end date is still available but the guarantor himself is not uh, alive, then no one will pay the insurance, no one will pay the fee uh, because patient can't pay. But there was a guarantor and guarantor has expired or he is not alive. So to avoid that problem, we have GT1 24 and 25 where it will indicate whether guarantor is alive or he is deceased. So that based on that, hospital will take a call. In case if the guarantor is deceased, immediately they will raise an alarm and let the patient know that your guarantor is dead. Um, you cannot go ahead with the option of insurance because that was an insurance of the guarantor and not the patient's directly. So patient will go ahead and try to pay alternate options to pay the bill. So that is how guarantor segment or information present in guarantor segment will help the hospital to carry forward their operations. Then next we have IN1 segment. So IN1 segment is insurance segment. So once the guarantor information is determined, insurance segment will help us to determine what all the insurance patient is covered with. So there will be multiple insurances each patient might have based on his what do we say? Based on his requirements. Each patient might have multiple insurances. In US, by default, everyone will have government-related insurances. So that insurance information is necessary to be captured so that so the hospital practice or the staff can know which insurance, where to send the insurance claim that is going to be generated on that patient. So let's quickly look at the fields that we have. IN1 insurance segment. IN11 is a set ID. IN12 is health plan ID. So each insurance plan will have a plan ID. So that plan ID will be sent in IN12. And then IN13 insurance company ID. So each insurance company will have unique ID that is determined or assigned by the government. That information will be sent in IN13. 4 and 5 are insurance company name and address. Then you have IN18 is a group number. So group number is nothing but each insurance based on the plan is combined or combined under a group. So that group number is present in IN18 and the group name is also indicated in IN19. And then we have IN112. So the plan effective date and end date. So as I said, as we have seen earlier, guarantor start and end date, how important that is. In a similar way, IN1 12 and 13 field are also important. The data sent in these segments will help the hospital billing staff to determine whether the patient's insurance plan is effective or not, or whether or it hasn't been expired. So when this information is sent from PM to EHR, on the EHR side, doctors will be able to see whether the patient insurance is available or not, or other staff who is going to work on the billing requirements will be able to see that information beforehand, before the patient comes. IN115 is plan type. So plan type is nothing but whether it is what kind of plan it is, like Medicare or Medicaid, um, or Blue Cross, or what is the plan type. That information will be sent in IN115. Then 17, insurer's relationship to patient. So this is also very similar to what we saw in Guarantor, where we saw guarantors in relationship to patient. So guarantor's relationship to patient indicates what is the relationship between the actual guarantor who has the insurance and the actual patient. In a similar way, this also indicates what is the relationship between the patient who has the insurance and the and the actual patient in play. So let's take a quick look at that example, which we discussed just now about the family billing concept. If the patient himself is the insurance bearer, which means the insurance plan is present on the patient's name itself, then we have IN117 as self. And in case if the patient's children or patient's wife is visiting the hospital, but the insurance is present on the actual father's name. So in such cases, what happens here? We will see the relationship of that patient and the insurance bearer. It could be father, spouse, or anything. But basically, it indicates what is the relationship between the actual insurance bearer and actual patient who is in play. Then we have IN118, insured's date of birth, insured's basic address information. IN136 is policy number. So this is a unique number which is assigned to each and every insurance, so that that insurance can be identified. So the policy number will be sent in IN136. IN147 has the coverage type, which means what all the coverages are covered within that insurance, whether it covers dental related charges, or whether it covers both hospital and institutional charges, or just the hospital charges, or whether it includes both hospital and physician charges, or just the inpatient stay charges and not the actual physician charges. So that information, what all the things are covered in this insurance, will be present in IN147. All right, that sums up what all the segments that we have in a demographic message. Any questions so far, Bhupinder?
No, it's okay. I'm aware of all these terminologies. I'm also working in a hospital, na, inpatient, outpatient. So I'm
Oh,
aware of
okay.
that things. Okay. For the last 7 years, I'm working in a AIMS hospital, Delhi.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was DB there. So I'm aware of this all terms.
Oh,
That's
all right.
guarantor
Then
part is not there because the government hospital is almost free, or you have to
mhm.
pay in cash. There's no scheme. Okay, sir, move forward, sir. No issue.
Okay, okay, great. Sorry, I didn't remember your background, because we had many people, right, for the demo. So,
No, I'm working in a HMIS application, that is
okay,
hospital management, and I was DB there.
okay,
So I know all
uh,
these.
okay, great, great, good to hear. I had an interaction with the guy. I interviewed a guy who is from Ames, who wanted to join in a different organization. So Ames uses Mirth integration engine, right?
There is a Mirth integration going on. We have done LIS integrations with different vendors. We have this Rastra, iPlatina. There are different companies with whom we integrate our HMIS application.
Oh, okay, okay,
They are,
nice.
we are using PACS, open PACS, all these. That's why I'm running.
Okay, okay, great, great. So let us So I'll make it little faster instead of explaining in detail. In case if you need any explanation for any field, just stop me, as you are already aware. But we'll go through each of the fields because understanding the fields is important. There are few fields which you need to know in the real time play. So in case if you don't understand anything, just stop me there. I will explain that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So next we have the SIU message type. SIU is for scheduling information unsolicited. When we were talking about the message types, we did see that why it is unsolicited, because message will flow, appointment messages will flow unidirectional from one point, which is PM to EHR, but patient will not be scheduled an appointment with an EHR system, and an appointment won't be sent back to the PM system. So, which is why it is called as an unsolicited message. So, an appointment message will have MSH, EVN, PID. So these three fields we have already covered. So we won't be taking a look at that in this, in not only in this and also further messages wherever we have these segments repeated. So we won't be covering the segments which are already done. We'll be covering the segments which are newly seen in these different message types down the line. So we'll be skipping first three as we have seen them already. Then now we'll go to SCH. So SCH is nothing but the scheduling segment. This will have information related to uh, the entire schedule. So let's say, for example, the patient is when the patient is coming, when when he is going, for what duration he has the appointment for, and when just give me 1 minute, Bhupinder. I'll just grab some water.
No.
All right. So sorry about that. So SCH1 and 2, these are nothing but the so SCH1 and 2, these are nothing but the appointment identifiers. So 1 and 2, any one of these field will be used by the system, whether SCH1 or 2, they will send the unique ID which has been assigned or which has been assigned by the database to identify each and every appointment separately. So that unique ID information will be sent in SCH1 or 2. Few systems will have two identifiers, one which represents at the front end and the other one which is used by the database. So at times you will see that both the IDs will be sent in SCH1 and 2 segment, 1 and 2 fields. SCH6 is appointment event reason. So the event reason will be specified within SCH6, which indicates whether it's a cancel appointment, whether it's a delete appointment, or whether there is whether it is a discontinued appointment. That information will be sent in SCH6. SCH7 is appointment reason, why the patient is coming for, like whether the patient is coming for a follow-up visit, whether the patient is coming up for a new visit, a new problem altogether, that information will be sent in SCH7. And SCH8, usually you'll have manually typed comments added here, or in case if there are any predefined comments or types, appointment types, then that will be present in SCH8. Then we have SCH16, which is filler contact information. So now let us say the patient is being scheduled by someone at the front end, right? When the patient visits the hospital, the patient will be registered by someone, by the receptionist at the front end. So that person information will be present in SCH16, and that and SCH20 also holds the same information: who entered or who has scheduled that appointment for. And SH25. So SH25 plays a major role in an appointment message. It has the filler status code. Filler status code in the sense it will indicate the status of the appointment when it is being scheduled. For example, if a patient is visiting the hospital and scheduling a new appointment with the doctor, then this will indicate that it's a new appointment. And in case if it has other information, other statuses, like if the appointment is being bumped or if an appointment is being acknowledged, each and every time that happens, a different code will be sent in SCH25. At times it will be sent as appointment, scheduled new appointment, or any other information representing new appointment. And in case if it is a cancel of an existing appointment, then SCH25 will be sent as cancelled. So when this receiving system receives an appointment, this particular field plays a major role because it helps them to determine whether the appointment is a new one, old one, or existing appointment getting updated, and so on. So based on SCH1 or 2, which is the unique ID for appointment, and SCH25, they will try to update an existing appointment. In case, so the way it works as your DBA, I think you will have an idea how existing data sets can be updated within the system. So what happens based on SCH1, in case if it is a new appointment, it will try to see the appointments table on the receiving system, and it will try to see whether that appointment or an appointment with that unique ID is already present in the system. If it is present, then it will update the existing appointment row in the appointments table. And in case if it is a new appointment altogether, it will add a new additional row in the appointments table indicating that it's a new appointment. So in case if there is an appointment which is already created earlier, and now the status of SCH25 is changing to bumped or acknowledged, then you will see that the DB will go ahead and update the existing row with the new status that it received. So that is how SCH25 and SCH1 or 2 will play an important role in updating the existing data which is present in the system. So there are few notations which we will see. There are few words notations in this, and there are few keywords that you will see in SCH25. One is new appointment, and next one is cancelled, which means that an appointment is cancelled. Other one is check-in or acknowledgement. Check-in or acknowledgement in the sense when the patient visits the hospital, before even visiting, they will schedule an appointment
It
by calling them.
is basically the current status of appointment. It is basically that na appointment current status, we can say.
Yeah, you can say.
It is
To be more precise, when the patient comes to the actual physical patient comes to the hospital, appointment might have been scheduled on call. When the patient visits the hospital physical location, that is when they will go ahead and check in or acknowledge. So yes, the current status at that point of time. will be indicated in SH25. When the appointment is running, appointment time is actually running, whether the patient has come in or whether, so the doctor can have a track of who is already checked in and who is waiting outside for him to meet. He might have hundreds of appointments for a day, but it may be a case where all the patients might not turn up to the hospital. So for them to understand whether an appointment is running in real time or not, that acknowledged or checked in status code will help them to determine. I mean, basically, it will help the database to determine and update the data within that so that the application on the front end can reflect the updated status. Next, we have AIL. AIL is appointment location information. So when we were talking about PV1 segment, we did see that PV13 is for assigned patient location. So, and I also told that it has a significance based on the appointment, based on the message that it is dealing with. If it is a demographic message, it is the location where the appointment is registered. Sorry, the way the patient is registered. And in case if it is an appointment message, it is about for which location the patient is asking for an appointment. Apart from sending the information PV13, they have an additional segment. I mean, HL7 has an additional segment which will hold this location information, that is AIL segment. So the most important thing here is AIL1 is the set ID as it is a sequence number. AIL3 is most important information that will include where the location, which location the appointment is scheduled for. And then we have AIG. AIG is appointment resource. So a couple of things here when we talk about resource, we'll come back to resource in couple of minutes. First, we will complete AIP. AIP is an appointment provider. So the doctor who is going to get an appointment, who is where the appointment is scheduled for, that doctor's information will be present in AIP. AIP3 is the actual resource ID. AIP4 is resource type, whether he is a doctor, whether it is a room, or whether it is something. What is room and all, we will take a look when we talk about resources. But AIP3 is the actual doctor related information, the name of the doctor, the ID of the doctor, in case if a hospital is using NPI or UPI, that information, that ID information will also be present in AIP3. Now let us look at resource. So before we talk about resource, couple of things. A resource can be anything within a hospital. A resource can be a doctor, a resource can be a, a room, X-ray room, or a resource can be a hospital room where the patient is going to be admitted, uh, or any other common bay where the patient is going to be admitted. So in this way, there are many things or entities within hospital which can be used as a resource. In in a very similar way, provider is also a resource within this hospital ecosystem. So there, when we talk about AIG, the resource information that is going to be sent in AIG might be anything. It can be an X-ray room, or it can be a general room, or it can be a doctor. So in cases where the appointment is being scheduled for a doctor, then you will see that AIP3 will have the doctor information, name of the doctor, and AIG3 will also have the same information, that the doctor's information, because here at the point the resource is the doctor. Now let us say um, there is an appointment being scheduled for CT scan, MRI, or X-ray for a patient. Then there will be few hospitals which will acquire the methodology of, or not methodology, acquire the workflow of creating an appointment even for X-rays, even for CT scan, so that they can maintain a sequence. So in such scenarios, you will see that AIG3 will have the resource information as X-ray room or CT scan room, and AIP will have the doctor who is present in that X-ray room, the radiologist basically. So in case if there are different radiologists coming up, the room information will be the same in AIG3. However, AIP information will keep changing based on the doctor who is available in that shift. So that is the role of AIG and AIP. So let us quickly roll through PV1 segment. So PV1 segment from appointment perspective. So PV12 will indicate inpatient and outpatient, as we have seen just now. PV13 will have assigned patient location, uh, which is nothing but the appointment location, not the demographic patient registered location. It contains appointment location when we are sending PV1 segment in an appointment message. 7 and 8, attending doctors, the doctor whom the patient is going to visit. 8 is referring doctor, same. 19 holds the visit number. In demographic message, you won't have any visit number. But when we talk about 19 or 50 in an appointment message, it will have a visit number. Any one of these fields or both the fields will have the same ID. And then 44, 45, admitting date and time. Discharge date and time will be sent here. All right. So we will conclude our session here today. We will start DFT and other message types tomorrow. Any questions you have, Bhupinder?
No, please share the this PDF so that I can revise myself. Uh,
Yes, I will share them
okay.
soon after this session.
Okay. Can we have one group of the HL7 whom are also learning so we can make one group? So if there are any doubts, we can put there. We can make more interactive with this classes.
Group,
Let us suppose you have,
in a sense, who are undergoing the training.
yeah, who are undergoing to training. If any doubt, we can put there, or I can directly ask you. So this is
Uh,
suggestion for you.
yeah, yeah.
But we are, I'm
Actually,
the only one.
sorry,
I'm the only one in this group. But
right.
if there are multiple people, then we'll, okay. The only thing, please share the video.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will share. But what is your number? What is your phone number?
My phone number I am giving in chat.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. So as of now, for this batch, you are the only one. So, um, all right, I got it.
I share my number.
Yeah, you can ping me anytime in case if you have any questions, I will answer that. Uh,
No issue. Thank you.
all right. Thank you. Catch you up tomorrow. Okay. All right. Bye.